I'm here today is to help you guys through these next parts that you might probably see on the screen. They'll be like, oh, I know about it, but there's other parts you might be like, oh, I never thought about that. So hopefully we can address a lot of these initial things that give you the foundation when you're starting up your business. And this is what you're also building your business on, is a solid foundation. So 6 key lessons on being a new entrepreneur, and just kind of gathering up all the things I learned while helping all these other businesses. So, during the presentation, I'm going to be discussing the following topics. So we'll be covering the following things. Be prepared before you register. I'm just going to see if I can get my phone to function again, because this is really annoying. I have to do it this way. Okay, perfect. Being prepared before you register, we're going to cover. Allocation of time and money. I'm sure you'd like now. How many people have businesses in here at all? Is there anybody? Okay, so when I talk about time and money, you're going to probably be like, yeah, I understand. You're going to be burnt out. But anyways, we're also discuss determining what business structures are right for you. This will be like the corporations, proprietorships. There's also going to be agreements. This is now agreements we're talking about when you have other business owners who are going to be joining you within a business. Saving your receipts, because along the way you guys are going to have a lot of different expenses, and you got to save these receipts. We're going to have that little topic. And then sharing your experience. So, if you guys have any questions along the way, please ask me. I'm always delightful to answer these questions for you, and sometimes you might forget at the end, but they're also very important as we go along. Great. Be prepared before you register a business. So, I found that when you're starting out with new businesses, you have tons of great ideas, and they're all, there's so many different roads you can go down to. But to begin this, you got to do a lot of market research, because there's a couple things you're going to come across. If it's a brand new product when you're starting out, you got to do a bit of research on the internet to see if other people have this product, because we're just in a small area of Edmonton, but somebody else in Nova Scotia or somewhere else in Canada might have the same business idea. So you got to kind of do a bit of research to see if there's another product out there like that, or a service that you're offering. If this is a product that is out there already, so let's just say you're going to build a phone, obviously the market is going to be saturated. So the next thing when doing the research is, how do I get through all that market static? How can I provide somebody who's going to buy my phone versus the other person's competitive? So this is where we're talking about SWOT analysis. Who's heard about SWOT analysis before? Right? It means strength of your business, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. A lot of people take this in business class, and it actually still applies out in this workforce when you're starting a business. If this also helps you determine who your competitors are, so you can strengthen your product as well. Yes, I had to do that for multiple of my businesses, but it's part of what you have to do. Any questions? Okay. The next thing you got to do before you prepare yourself is talking through it with your family and friends. When you have business ideas, your best critics are always going to be your parents and your friends, because, well, they'll tell you the honest truth about it. And my thing is, if I can't sell it to my mom or anybody else, I know it's not going to be a very good product or anything like that. I also find that they'll give you great feedback, so you can tweak your product or your service to help you get it out to the marketplace. I had my aunt, she's in marketing, and I told her about one of my business ideas. She made me cry. And that's what she does, and she's like, that's the most ridiculous idea. But you know what? If she didn't tell me that, I did the research about what she was saying, I could have lost a lot of money, because at the end of the day, it was actually a really ridiculous idea, but it was good to me at the time when I was going on. So they have great honest opinion, family members do, and your friends if you're pretty close with them as well. And if your friends want to invest into your business, it's a really good business idea. All right, and then the next one you got to consider is, what is the target market? So the target market, do you guys understand what target market is? Somebody want to give me an idea what a target market means? This room?
Depends upon which sector or which group of people we are targeting to give our product.
Yes, so you're right, it's a target. So you're allocating a person of what age group they're in, where they live, male or female, that's like a target marketing. You're trying to narrow it down to a person that you are trying to market to. A lot of people are saying, oh, why can't we just have everybody across Canada buy our product? That sounds a great idea, isn't it? Everybody across Canada. It doesn't really work that way. That's a lot of static noise, and it's very expensive unless you have a deep pocket for advertising. So the best way is to start out small, have a designated type of group of people, and as that group grows, your product will grow, and eventually everybody will know about it. So like Apple computers, I'm sure they didn't market to everybody across the world once. They probably started out, and then they kind of got big along the way. Avatars. Does anybody know what an avatar is at all when I talk about that? This is kind of a new coin thing that's actually happening in the marketplace, so as we're discussing marketing. Avatar, okay, target market, if you think about it, is like a stick person. You have a head, a body, and 2 arms and 2 legs. That's kind of like a female, and she's going to be 35, and she's going to have be living in Toronto. Now, an avatar actually has a lot more details. An avatar is like this. I'm going to go after females who are between 34 to 38. They're going to be moms. They're going to drink certain types of coffee. They're going to be interacting with certain type of places. So they're more like specific, like a picture. Like you can actually visually talk about it. And the reason why there's an avatar is because the way you speak to these people, based on their average education level, is different than another person of a different type of industry. Does that make sense when I talk about avatar? So I think target market is like a stick person, and avatar is the exact person you can see in front of you, that group of people that you're talking to, and you have a lot of details in there. So make sure your idea is a good one, do your research, talk to your family, and see what kind of avatar or marketplace that you're trying to target. Now, the next part is time and money. Oh, this is going to be fun. So we had a couple of people, I think it was just here that have businesses, or anybody else have businesses that they've started up here? So put your hand up because I just want to see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you guys are, the reason why you guys are here is because you're thinking about starting a business?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay. So out of this group, are you guys full-time students? How many are full-time students? Okay. And then how many of you are also, are you guys, I don't know if it's possible to be full-time working or part-time as well, part-time workers as well? Or full-time? Oh, you're the only one. Ooh. Good play. And you too? Yes. Okay. So next topic is called time and money, because when you're starting a business, you're a full-time student, and then you're also working, you're going to end up with a burnout. Yes. And so this is something to be very wary of, because it's all about now, is the next part is called balancing, right? If you spend too much time on one area, you're going to end up lacking somewhere else. You're going to be taking that time away because you only have 24 hours a day. As much as you wish you could have more time, that's not possible. I found out that when I was talking to another student that they're trying to start a business, they're a full-time student, and then they were doing 4 or 5 other projects along the way. Can you tell me what happens when you start picking up more projects along the way? Do you think one project's going to get as much detail, become quality at all? It doesn't, right? So I always try to say, balance yourself. Pick 1 or 2 projects and work on those 2. Try to keep your focus, okay? It's going to be hard because you're going to be so tempted to try to go somewhere else, but the more you spread yourself out of different projects or different things, the less quality your projects or things are going to become, which is what wants quality. So that is talking about that. So that's full-time student employees, and time management is essential without burning out. Next thing is budgets. I'm sure you guys probably heard about this. Budgeting. How many have a budget to put together roughly about what their expenses are coming up in their business? Has anybody done that? You guys are on the right track. For all the rest, once you do put up your hands, put together a budget. It's so crucial. I know I was kind of like, when I started out, I was like, put together a budget. I'm just going to wing it and just put up the money wherever I have to at that time. But I found out at the end of the day that if I did put together a budget, everybody close your eyes. Sorry, my time's out, and you're going to see my husband's vlogging again. Oh. I'll be mindful next time not to have that on there. Anyways, so when you're doing your budget, The purpose of this is so that you guys are capable of seeing what kind of costs you have for your startup coming along. You only have so much money in your pocket, and you gotta understand, what are you putting towards marketing, products, for making whatever you're doing, so marketing, products. You might have to do additional education or training and the registration of your business. And you might only have $100. If you can allocate those out to your budget, at least you're capable of keeping to that budget and not getting sidetracked off. So when I'm saying sidetracked off, there's a couple of things. Like along the way, this is a big one. These are a couple of things you should be mindful so you don't come across this, because even though you have your budget, if you get off track, you're going to start throwing your money away at things like this that you're going to see. Everyone's ever seen this? You're going to make #1 on Google. Who's ever seen that when you're trying to do your advertising? Is this possible at all? Like within the first year, making #1 on Google. Do you think this is possible? No. And why is that? Anybody? Who does anything with advertising or Google at all? Or have you ever heard of like SEOs or anything like that? Okay, I see some heads in the back. Why? Why is Google not possibly #1 on their page within the first year?
Well, I don't know about the SEO side of it, but the top links are usually paid to be there. They're not.
If it's advertising, but if it's organically, they try to push you up. You can't because of algorithms. Google has it because, let me just tell you a little story. So my background has never been in marketing, but I had to do my research in there, and I was talking to a lot of these different marketing gurus who do all this stuff. And they said, well, when I started out, back in the day, I don't even know what year it was, this is what they used to do to get on the top of the page. As long as you had SEOs in your page, it started ranking you higher in Google. So let's just say you are the #1 person who's going to sell the cell phones. So all you have to do is put cell phones like 18,000 times in your website page, and then Google sees it and they start ranking you to the top because you have all these SEOs saying cell phones in there, right? And then they changed the algorithm a little bit. And so what they did is at the bottom of the page is they said, cell phones by now, very easy. They wrote that as the hashtags and SEOs, and they made it all blanked out to be white, so you can really see all that encryption down there, which then tricked the program and made them #1 on the website. So people are getting smarter on figuring out how to get #1 on Google. So eventually they're like, you know what, this is not right. These people are cheating. So now they have this really complex algorithm that they change every year and tweak it to kind of get these businesses who are not legit, who are just trying to sell stuff. So there's no possible way, unless you do it organically with the right SEOs and your marketing and your driving traffic, to get on #1. And people will be like, I can do this, pay me $2,000 a month. No. So please beware. This is part of your budgeting. Don't fall for one of these, because I've seen it lots and people are like, oh, they can do it. No, they can't. And then the other one is that you'll see is you can earn up to $150,000 a year. You'll probably see this advertising as well. This is another gimmick. They're just trying to get your money, and they know that you guys are new entrepreneurs, and they're going to try to get you off from your budget that you should be having to try to get them to take it and help you. So just be very conscious about it. Now, the next part I would like to talk about is, all right, so keep on track. Don't be surprised. So make sure you have a budget so that you're not surprised about what's coming down the line. All right, so now determine what the best business structure is right for you. All right, I'm going to leave this to you guys. Can somebody tell me the 3 different business structures there are? Sole proprietorship. Oh, can you tell me the next one? Somebody else will tell me the other one. Sole proprietorship. That's the first one. What's the other one?
I don't know if it's Canadian LLC or LLC, like limited liability.
As a limited
LLC.
or LLC.
But I think that's American, maybe. Yeah.
They call it limited
Okay.
corp. So the next one is called corporation, and then there's one that's in between those ones. We have proprietorship, corporation, and there's one in between. Oh, she almost gave it away. One more person on this side of the room. You guys are too quiet.
Partnership?
You got it. Partnership. 3 of them. Sole proprietorship, partnership, and incorporation. These are the 3 different business structures. When you're talking about limited, that's this one. Corporation, this one. Incorp, this one. When you're talking about sole proprietorship, someone who's starting a mom and pop shop, that's this one. We're actually going to go through the next little slides about the difference between a sole proprietorship and a corporation. All right, I got a couple of true or false, so we can entertain ourselves a little bit. True or false? Can anybody be a sole proprietorship? True or false?
True.
Very much so. True or false? If I'm selling a jewelry from my home, actually, is it or not? Am I a sole proprietorship if I'm selling jewelry from my home or doing nails from home? Am I a sole proprietorship?
Not necessarily.
You are.
But you are.
You are.
Okay.
They are not registered as a business, but they are selling a product from their house. If you're making money, but you're not registered as a business or anything, you're a sole proprietorship. If you're selling popcorn on the side of the road, but you haven't registered as a business, you're still a sole proprietorship. Finally, is it true or false? It is very hard to set up a sole proprietorship. False. It's actually, I think, very simple to form. Once you start selling something, you're a sole proprietorship. The next steps is just to make sure that you are registered as one. Other people don't even know that. Well, I'm just doing this. Well, are you making money? Yeah. Well, you're a sole proprietorship. Sorry, you gotta go get registered. All right. Now, what's other interesting about a sole proprietorship is owners are responsible for their debt. So, you buy something, you're responsible for it. You get a loan for your business because you're growing, usually you're the one signing for the debt of this loan. You can choose business name. So when you actually get the forefront of going to become a proprietorship, you go to the registry office and you register for a business name. So that's now the business is registered for whatever name you want. And it is not safe from legal liability. Does anybody kind of know what this part's about at all? I want to try to guess what this might be. About legal liability? So let's just say I'm doing your nails. And for some reason, I got clumsy and I cut you and they ended up with an infection. So you decide to sue me. So now I am not safe from any legal liability. So once you sue me because I hurt you and I damaged you, everything that I own is up for grabs and I have to pay that debt. Does that make sense? So you're not safeguarded from any legal liability at this point. Finally is the taxes. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm a proprietorship. What am I going to do now? Like, I owe taxes, right? That might cross your mind. I might have to do sales tax. Sales tax usually gets implemented after $30,000. That's when you have to pay CRA and get a business number for that. And then when making revenues, subtract your expenses. That gets all filed underneath your personal tax return. And that's usually done in, what's your taxes due?
April 30th.
Got it. You usually get a bookkeeper or accountant to help you within the first year, and it's really easy to navigate, but we'll talk about that in a little bit here later. All right, next one we're going to talk about is
we just did that one.
Yeah. Corporation. Okay. Let's do some true or false with this one. Okay. Somebody who has a proprietorship can't become a corporation. True or false? Sorry.
False.
Actually, it's not correct. You can become an incorporation. Even though you're a proprietorship, you can become an incorporation afterwards. What happens is that usually people this is my threshold. After you usually make $60,000 of revenue, subtract expenses, usually I turn to my clients and say, it's time to incorporate. Now your company is getting bigger, and there's more tax advantages for you to be an incorporation. So what we end up doing is taking that proprietorship and we start closing it off, and we move them into an incorporation and register them. You cannot take that name for the proprietorship though and put it in the corporation. You actually have to re-register it into that, and that's where you get the Inc., LTD, or the corp behind that name. Okay? Other question. Only well-established businesses are incorporated. True or false?
False.
It's false, actually. Yes, would you believe that? Well-established businesses. Let's just say that all the doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists, usually when they're done their schooling and all their practicum, even welders, they automatically go and become an incorporation. They're not even established at all. The reason is because they know within that first year of their profession that they have, they're going to make a large sum of money. Plus, they're going to also be very exposed to different types of liability and risk. And so it's only naturally for them to pick the point of becoming an incorporation right away. not a proprietorship. So you do not have to be an established business to become an incorporation. You just got to think about risk, how much you can make in that first year, and the benefits of being an incorporation. All right, you should start up a business when you're making over $1 million. True or false?
False.
True. Threshold is $60,000 is what I usually tell my clients after the expenses. All right. So then this brings us back to the corporation side. It's a little bit more complex. So my company Coreina will give you the step-by-steps to help you incorporate, and it's more expensive than proprietorship. Proprietorship, I think, costs $100, and an incorporation, depending if you have a name and the other stuff, usually runs you about $600 to do that. Okay, so there is a bit of a cost difference for that. The legal entity. Now I'm going to try to use a bit of terms when I say legal entity. So when you're a proprietorship, you are the business. When it's a legal entity, it is a person of itself. Okay, you do not own, yes, you registered this business, but you're not the business. The business is its own person. So they think about it as a person, if that's the best way to do it. You have a name, you can pick the name, it's like a child, you can pick the name for it, but it pays its own taxes, it pays for the payroll. If you want to try to think about it as a legal entity, you've got to think about TELUS, Rogers, those big companies. It's not the people who started up, it is its own separate entity. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Any questions about that? No? Okay, cool. So, then there's the choosing of business name. As I discussed before, you get to choose the name of this lovely little child that you're just giving birth to. It's wonderful. And there's legal protection. Now, as proprietorship, you didn't have legal protection, but in this case, because it's its own legal entity, it can sign its own loan agreements. So if anything happens, it's the company that deals with it. When you're lending money out, the company's lending money out. Payroll, the company's paying it. Taxes are done at year end. They have like a fiscal year, and it's called a T2, and the taxes are done completely separate because it's its own person. Any questions about this at all before I move on?
What's the year end for taxes for companies?
Say again?
Is the year end differently for companies?
Yes.
Yeah.
A year end for proprietorship is April, and for a corporation it's always usually like the date you have to establish, it's called a cycle, business cycle, has to be under 365 days. So my worst is I really hate December year ends for any company, which is what's triggered by CRA if you don't tell them what it is, because usually that gives me till April to get everything in, and then there's so much taxes under personal and your corporation. It's just a nightmare. So I usually say, when you incorporate, try to pick a date that is during its down period, because you've got a lot of paper to put together, and then make sure it's also that during peak when you're making money, like the 3 months after. So let's just say you incorporate it in September, and we're going to pick it October year end. That's actually very possible. But from here on in, October 31st, every year after that is its business cycle. Does that make sense? So it is not April, it's just whatever that set date is after you start.
And ideally, if your business, you have busy time this summer, then October would be a good year
Yes.
end. Okay.
Or what you do is,
Prior to-
if your top peak for all your revenues in September, I say go back 3 months. The reason why I say, for you is this way, go back 3 months. The reason why I say go back 3 months is because you have to have all your taxes paid in 3 months. And the easiest way to pay your taxes is when you're making the most money, right?
So if your peak is July, then maybe you
Go
want to be
backwards.
like April. or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely. Which is nice too, because you're like, April, you're all my taxes are paid, and then now it's time to go and get the rest of my paperwork together for the account and everything else. Cool? All right. So the last part we're going to talk about is partnership. I don't have a slide for this one because it's such an interesting topic. So the best way I can say, what is a partnership? The best way I can describe this is like this. So you have a bakery. And in this bakery, you have somebody who's going to make the bread, and then you have another person who's really good at making muffins, right? So just say Susan, she's been making muffins at home, but she's making lots of sales. And then Stacy, she's making bread at home, and she's making lots of sales. But they come together and say, you know what? Let's come together as a partnership, which means we come under one roof name, and those revenues get split 50-50 down the side. But she keeps her business title, and she keeps her business title. Does that make sense? So they're not coming together as one, they're just keeping separate businesses, but it's gonna have one name across, and then the revenues are split between each other, and then they're taxed in those business structures. So Sarah, or whatever, the first one I'm gonna say, she could be a proprietorship, and this other person could be an incorporation. This can be a corporation, or this can be a corporation. So it doesn't matter what these structures are, it's just the fact that they came together to share common under one business name. And that's what a partnership is. It's great because then you can have an agreement saying, you know what, I'm liable for this 50% and you're liable for this 50%. And then it's divided up and there's no messing with your assets. Because usually when they come into a business, they tend to already be established and have assets in each one of the businesses that they don't want to mess with in the bigger picture. Is that good clarification what a partnership is? Okay. If I actually gave you the term that they have on the website page of that, you'd be like, what the heck? That makes no sense. So let's move on to business agreements. Now, for those who have their businesses, does anybody have partners with these businesses you're starting or thinking about partners? Any other people? There's only one? Okay. So right now there's just single people owners. At a time when there's two of you and decide to become partners, this is where it comes to play, partnership agreements or owner agreements. You know why it's important to have an agreement in place when you're, she's actually, I know. Come on, anybody else? Why is it important to have an agreement in place if there's more than one of you guys?
Like a freedom.
Basically. Oh my God. Should we tell you guys a horror story? Let's just tell you a horror story. Okay. So, like I said, I do this for a lot, and my most fought after people are my massage therapists. Like, they come into this business together as two people under one name, and they're fantastic. She's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm like, you need to put your agreements in place. And they're like, we're fine, right? But as time goes by, the company starts making revenues, and then it's like, well, I did more work than you did. And I was like, and then they start arguing because they feel that they're entitled to have whatever they make to bring in there. But you'll find that in a business that one person will actually gear towards more sales in the social media advertising, and the other person has to do more of the HR, hiring, front desk stuff. And that's very natural for a business to be functioning like that. But the person who's doing sales and making all the hard work feels that their position is more valuable than the person who's doing HR. And everybody knows HR. Does HR ever make any money? No, it's not, right? It's very hard. But the thing is that this person can't be doing what they're doing without this person. And so both of these people need to have an agreement, because this is what they'll tend to argue about is, well, you're not bringing in sales. So that's why I would say, well, things are nice before in the honeymoon stage, put the agreement in place for the event that something doesn't go well. So you're going to put in this agreement. Revenues, who's going to be paying the debt? So at the beginning, you're not going to have any money. So I've seen a lot of people have loans for business, and they bring in loans, and then you have to have in the agreement who's going to be paying those loans, how is the loan going to get paid, right? And then there's the coming and going of owners within the business. So maybe there's two of you, but you need to bring a third person. What does that picture look like? So that's why partnership agreements are very important at the beginning. Any questions about this section? Okay. So now we get back to saving your receipts. Remember a couple of slides back, I was discussing about keeping your budgets. Do you guys remember that part? And then that will tell you what you have for expenses coming through. Well, why do you think it's important to keep all these receipts that you have?
Write them off.
Yeah, despite the fact that you see this up here. Why? What are they used against? Your income, yeah. Right? So if you sell something for $100, what did it took you to make that $100? Did you have to use your gas? Obviously, go and buy stuff, probably tools and supplies. Those are used against revenue. But you have to pay taxes on it at the end of the day. And to lower your taxes to the government, you have to apply those receipts to it. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't have those receipts, CRA is not going to care, Canada Revenue Agency, and they're going to tax you the full value of whatever those revenues are, because you do not have those receipts. It is natural to have more receipts for expenses during the first couple of years than it is to have revenues, which is okay because those expenses get kind of carried as credit towards those revenues for later on. So keep your receipts, all right? Now, there is. So the only way to lower your taxes is to apply those expenses against the revenue. And what are some of the expenses you guys can possibly claim? Do you think?
Yes. Mortgage.
Gas, mortgages at the end of the year. It's like home office expense. How about you? Oh, you're looking at me pretty good. Yeah, tell me. Tell me an expense that you possibly write off in the business when you're starting.
Equipment you used on the job itself.
Yep.
You purchase the computers.
Yep.
Office equipment if you're working in the office.
How about you?
Utilities.
Utilities are at the end of the year. That's a home office expense, and you prorate it on a percentage. But yes, you keep your receipts for that. How about your cell phone?
Yeah.
That's a good one. How about when you go to the car wash because your vehicle's really dirty during your errands? Do you think that's deductible? Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. I have to ask. What's your trade? Sorry, I don't know. What is business are you going to start?
It would be within the landscaping field.
The landscaping field.
Yeah.
Yes. So how about you? So all your receipts for your vehicle, for car washes, your tires that you buy, because your vehicle is going to be your primary operational vehicle, so keep all those receipts. Your tools that you have, all those. I give an allowance for my clients, clothing. So depending on what kind of industry you're in, I give a clothing allowance as well. Because you can't do landscaping without having the proper attire. You're not going to be wearing like really nice jeans and your great shoes. Usually you have like hard toes like that. If you're somebody who's doing more aesthetics, they usually have a type of scrubs, or what they call them. Is that what they call them? Something like that. And then for the ladies who I know are doing more business stuff, like what I do for accounting, I usually give them an allowance for like their shirts and their pants, which is deductible as well. Not a large. I've seen people try to write off their whole entire wardrobe. It doesn't work that way. You just gotta keep it.
Could you use it towards like something with a logo or something like that on it? Like,
Oh yes.
Yeah. Towards
That goes
something.
under advertising, right?
Marketing and that
So
sort of thing.
my shirt has logos on it. I had to buy the shirt with the logo. That's deductible. All your advertising is deductible, right? On our website page, go to Coreina, we do have 7 ways of saving money before you start a business. So if you're looking for that, it's a very document that's lengthy. I didn't add it in here because there's a lot of good details for you guys. If you go to our website page, you can sign up to get that. But yes, tool supplies, meetings, mentors. I've actually had people pay for mentors to help them along in certain areas. Those are deductible. And the registration of your business is also deductible. All right. Now, I have a really good group of people here. But I'm wondering, do you think connecting with others helps you with your business? Socializing with other business owners?
Absolutely.
And what's the benefit for talking to other business owners?
Shared experience.
Yes. Because they might be ahead of where you're at. They might be on the same journey path as what you're at. And it's always really great to talk to these people because you can bounce ideas off of each other to make sure that you guys are like, hey, beware of that rock coming down the road. This is what I did. Don't do it. Because it's like, you know what I mean? I use those techniques a lot because, you know what? I find that, you know, on this journey, you're not alone. There's a lot of other people doing it. And it's always great to connect with other people. It's kind of like a partner along the way. You don't have to do the same industry, but another interesting idea is there's complementary services. So eventually you'll find other people in your path that are complementary. So for me, as an accountant, I usually network with bookkeepers because bookkeepers give me work and then I give bookkeepers work. Does that mean by complementary? If I'm a dentist, I usually have somebody who is, what the heck they call them? People do the teeth cleaning.
Hygienist.
That's it. Thank you. I'm like, what are they called? They pair up with them, so I find that that's complementary services. So depending what kind of business you have, find those complementary people to share services. That becomes your circle. I also work with investors. So investors, they get people who are starting a business, they refer them to me. My clients need to know more about investing, so I refer out. So once you start having that group of people established, this is where the money is starting to be made, is because now you're referring clients back and forth, and you become much stronger as a business. Now, as you're here today, this is a networking group. Well, we're learning about something good, right? The schools have these. Be part of them. There'll be tons of people along your pathway that will help you along. There's also the clubs. How many people are part of business incubators or anything like that, or in their community? Have you guys looked at all to see what's going on in your community for business at all. So Chamber of Commerce, that's a great place to start. Chamber of Commerce has businesses who are like-minded, a little bit more senior in businesses, but they're a great place to start because their businesses are already established and they like to give referrals, right? Why not? Here at your school, we have a lot of things going on for the students as well, so that's great business incubators here. There's Eventbrite, they have a lot of things there for business owners as well to kind of get yourself set up. Now, let's just recap before we finish up here. So a couple of things you need to do. Prepare before you register your business. Allocate time and money on your projects. Be conscious about it, right? Don't burn yourself out. Determine what business structure is right for you. Start as proprietorship, you get more. Become an incorporation later on. The threshold is $60,000. More tax benefits, less for the government. It's great stuff. Agreements with business owners. You may not have anybody now, but later on, make sure those are established. I have my business card out front, so if anybody needs those later on, I do have a template for you, so you can use it for later on if you need a business agreement to kind of work off of. Save your receipts. Put them in a little folder, you'll thank yourself later. And then share your experience with other people to help them along the way and all that. All right, well that wraps it up. I'm Coreina Hubert with Coreina. Is there any questions that I can answer for you?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What you said about mileage.
Yes.
I've heard some companies will, if they're incorporated, will actually keep a log of where they've driven to and where from and all that stuff. And other companies will just charge mileage.
Oh, that one. Ooh. Well, let me tell you about CRA.
Yeah.
So, this is my fun part. So I'm a tax accountant, that's what I do, right? My fun part is to make sure that my clients don't get in trouble with CRA. As a proprietorship and starting out, you have to keep a logbook and every receipt you have for your vehicle. So people are like, I can keep a gas receipt for this, 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 and this. It's not always that easy. Right now, the biggest audits that are going on is with proprietorships and your fuel expenses. So what they want you to do is, on my website page for Coreina, there's like the front there, we actually have a mileage logbook for you to keep track of. And what it does is say, I'm on this date, I went from here to here, and you do a description, open kilometers, closing kilometers. Now the next part of that is to do that for the year. You have to keep every one of your receipts for that vehicle because they want to prorate it. So you might say, you know what I mean by prorate. So it's a group of everything, and then if it turns out being that your kilometers for the year for your auto is 20% and you're, like just say you drove 6,000, but only a percentage of it is for business, they take that percentage and apply it to all those receipts. And they have been asking for all of them. So they won't accept your bank statements at all to go see all those expenses. They legitimately want to see receipts for it. Your insurance is on there, buy your tires, everything for that vehicle, keep it together.
How do you store receipts?
How do you store receipts? All right, so.
Can you keep a digital copy of this?
Yeah, there is a digital way to keep it. It's called HubDoc. You can take pictures of your receipts. So HubDoc is a program, $25 a month, which is really nice because I work with a lot of my clients virtually. So I have clients everywhere from like Northwest Territories to Calgary to like the East Coast. And we are virtual because we use QuickBooks Online for our bookkeeping. And everything is downloaded for bank statements, this program called HubDoc, which then allows them to, you take a picture of the receipt, it gets uploaded for me to see, and it gets tagged into your bookkeeping. So, which is interesting. We had got an audit done 5 years ago, and we actually pulled all the papers out to get all the automobile expenses in there. And what do you possibly think that those receipts look like after 5 years?
You can't see them.
They're faded.
They're faded, and guess what? We got rejected from CRA. I kid you not, all of them. And I was like, come to my place and take a look. I physically have it. Well, we can't see it. How is that my problem? Well, you're supposed to keep them in good order. Well, I had them stored. Like, what else do you want me? But they all got rejected because they faded. So HubDoc, yeah, they're really brutal. I think it's just because they have too much time on their hands, honestly. So HubDoc is a great place to take a picture of your receipts and store them online.
But even if you had like photos in your own file, like your own filing system, or does it have to be like an app that's dedicated to?
You can keep.
Can you like scan them yourself?
They
and
want
just
original
file them?
receipts, so okay.
No, they're allowing digital receipts.
Okay.
They're allowing digital receipts now, right? So what we tend to do is, we can do the scan, so if you have all the hard copies at the end of the year, we'll scan them all through a snap scan for our clients, and we actually have them all on a hard drive, and then they keep the hard drive, right? That's one way to do it, the easier way. But once you become more active and a more faster pace for your business, usually the accountants like go to HubDoc because we can see it in real time when you have your receipts. Because once your receipts get to us, there's like, for meals and expenses, you have tips on them and other stuff that we allocate differently. So for now, yes, scan them onto a hard drive and keep them that way. Now, that is for the proprietorship. For the corporation side, there's two different ways for the business for the vehicle. You can have the vehicle within the business, and that means anything that the vehicle does, you can expense it within the business. But you can't take kilometers. It's just based on whatever expense you are. The question the CRA is going to ask you is this business 100% business use? If not, you have to get a T4 slip to show that you have a business benefit. Does that make sense? Right? Let's just say you work for TELUS, right? And they give you one of their vehicles. Do you think that when you take it home and you do get groceries or take your kids somewhere, because you don't have kids yet, but eventually you might will, or you have to go take your dog in, there's a small portion of those kilometers on that business vehicle that you're using for personally, and that's a benefit to you, so that's taxable. So they're going to expect to see a tax slip for that. Unless you can prove otherwise that you have a secondary vehicle. So what I tend to do is keep the vehicle on the outside of the business, and then I say put all your expenses through, and then we do the log book, and you get a percentage, it's like 52 cents per kilometer. CRA has this nice long detail. If you have an accountant, they'll know what to do, right? So you just got to consider when you're in a corporation, is your vehicle primary, or is it kind of like half and half? If it's half and half, keep the vehicle outside the vehicle of the company. I wouldn't put it in. Just get the kilometers based on that. If you need a logbook, we do have one on our corporate website page too. You can just sign up and get one of those for the logbooks to help you with that. Any other questions?
So you said when a business makes around like $60,000, you should incorporate as well at the right time. Is there any benefit in incorporating earlier than that?
Legal.
The liability part.
Yeah, remember we talked about risk and that? What's your risk? Are you going to end up getting sued, or is there a reason why somebody might want to come after you? Landscaping, I would suggest you incorporating right away. I would not even go the other way. What kind of business are you considering?
So we do digital marketing business, so we do a lot of.
So what's the risk? What happens if the customer's not happy?
So that's kind of their reputation, right?
The reputation of
Yeah.
that. Can they come after you for not doing something correctly? That's your risk, right?
Yeah.
What damage could possibly happen to you if you don't do it right? If I'm selling jewelry and it breaks, I fix it. I'm not good for proprietorship, right? Home care people, they tend to be proprietorship because it's covered underneath the insurance of their home, so they're fine.
What about food services?
Food services, like what? Get any more specific?
Like a small restaurant.
Incorporate. Yes.
What about in your like home baking example?
Home baking.
Yeah.
So you're making breads from home. Your insurance for your house depends. You could probably get an insurance package put together for yourself for that part. The restaurant is different because you have an open store. Somebody could slip and fall, hurt themselves, get food poisoning. Who knows? That's huge risks. When you're at home and you're selling the breads from your house, there's insurance underneath there. You're more secured underneath that umbrella for that. How about you? Any other questions?
So just to follow up,
Yeah.
so we're fairly new,
Yeah.
but we're about to get like a few clients. So once we get a stable income, would you say to just incorporate as fast as we can?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
And that business name will have to re-register
Yeah.
again. So just like, you know, why can't I transfer it? You
Yeah.
cannot just paste it here for that.
But you could still hold, like, if your business was if your business was named as a sole proprietorship, you could have Nate Inc.
Yes.
Whatever, so you can keep the same header, it just
Yeah.
has to.
You just have to pay it again to have it as that. So you'll get like a certificate number, and then they'll incorporate and ask for the certificate number. So cost when starting a business, if you're just a numbered company, they won't charge you that extra $60 for a name. It just becomes a numbered company, but yes, you're right. You just pay another fee to have it moved.
And I know I came late, so I don't know if you addressed the question, but like, what are the liability issues with choosing a name? So like, where, like, if my name's the same as somebody else's
Oh,
business name,
they'll
like,
do a
is that whole
search.
other- yeah,
They'll-
they'll tell you.
They
on that
will.
end?
I would
Okay.
suggest you do, actually, to incorporate, let me just tell you a little bit what my other business is, okay, why I'm here. So my company's called Coreina, and what we do is we give you step-by-step guidance on starting up your business, all right? So I find that, like I said, I've been doing this for a while, that a lot of people are missing those critical steps of starting a business. Like one of the parts is finding that right name that suits you, to website development, or am I incorporating like the threshold I was just discussing, the benefits or the benefits for that, how to deal with payroll, how to pay yourself, sales taxes in there, and the incorporation is all underneath that umbrella, one stop for you. So if you're looking for that, I would suggest you go through Coreina. It'll give you all those critical steps so you're not missing anything for that. And it'll give you lots of instructions for setting up your business on that.
What does it cost?
For the incorporation or registration of business.
To work with Coreina.
Oh, our fee is $149. Just for like, the incorporation itself on the inside is just around the $500 mark, given whatever you want for the additional services, like a name or additional things you want done. But my fee is $149, that's it. The information I give you on the inside is almost about $2,000 worth of savings. For me to sit with you one-on-one to give you instructions on this whole process, even with a lawyer, is close to about $2,000. So this is a great way for you to set up, and it gives you those instructions that you need for sales tax, when you get registered for sales tax. How do I pay myself? That's a huge one that I discuss in there too, so I'll talk about the difference between dividend or a T4 slip. There's also the submissions of the papers. So we have deadlines for all this stuff as well. Business owner is great, but you also have a lot of responsibilities. If you do not address these responsibilities, that's where I end up coming in and charging a lot of money because you miss these critical steps. And CRA doesn't care, they'll come for your money. They're not very nice lately. They're not. I say that with niceness.
They do that though because there's people that take advantage on purpose.
Oh my God, I had this guy drop off 10 years of his corporation at my desk, and he always did his, so there's a thing called an annual return. Every year you have to go to the registry office and say that you're still business, He did that, right? But he never did his corporation stuff, and they'll assess you for what they think that you made based on your industry. So he never filed any of his taxes for his business for the last 10 years. So CRA said, you know what? We're gonna pretend we know what you made. So they assessed him for $20,000 owing for taxes, $30,000, $40,000. I have no clue where they came up with these numbers for any of this stuff. And then his GST, because he was over the $30,000 threshold, he never filed anything. So then they assessed him for that too. And they're like, well, we think you made $7,000 of taxes for owing, right? So at the end of this year, before he came to me because he was in panic mode, they had him assessed him over $120,000 to CRA, which means now they can come for your house and everything else because you owe this debt to them because you never filed your taxes. Yes. So that's why I did Coreina, is because I've had these people that don't know the deadlines, what the expectation is as a business owner, and now it's here for you guys all under one roof, so you don't end up with a knock on your door to get through it. So be very conscious about that, for sure. Yeah, it sucks. But yeah, it took about us to get this paperwork done, 3 months, and took six months for them to correct it on CRA's side, and that's just nice, 6 months. Almost could take a year to fix all that. Imagine having to pay. Poor guy. But yeah. Anyways, that's it. If you guys want to talk one-on-one, I'm here for you. Otherwise, I have business cards and my pamphlets at the front. Please tell other people about this so that they as well don't escape from the wrong hands, right? But thanks, guys, for coming so much.
Thank you so much for coming in today. Please don't forget to fill out your evaluations, and we have Mike Matt coming March 13th, all about sales and relationships. And the Innovation Challenge for NAIT students are information practice tomorrow night, and we're giving out $3,000 this year.
Hey, he asked me some questions. I got some stuff right now. I travel a lot and I get tons of stuff. Because I like this much, I get some socks. And you look like your fancy socks.